So heed that little ping before it becomes the gong of expensive repairs. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Has the boss got you down? Career at a stalemate? Office boring? Hey, turn that frown upside down. When I come back, I'll share some gee whizzes that'll make you a hit at the water cooler. O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Here are some automotive gee whizzes that'll make you go, Did you know Theodore Roosevelt was the first president to drive a car and to own one? Did you know the last Russian Tsar, Nicholas II, had a pair of Rolls Royces? And Lenin, the father of communism, had a Rolls of his own. Did you know Clyde Barrow, the famous gangster, wrote to Henry Ford telling him what a dandy car he made? Wow, this has been fun. Now go show off at the water cooler. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Hi, I'm Bobby Likis with today's Car Clinic Minute. Buddhists know it. So do exercise physiologists and Wall Street economists. Yep, everything's connected. Just ask your radiator. Hey, that's a great idea. And when I come back, I'll do just that.
O'Reilly.
When your battery goes dead, everything can come to a stop. Don't take a chance on getting stranded. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts and get your battery tested free of charge. If your battery does need to be replaced, O'Reilly Auto Parts can help you find the exact Superstart battery that fits your car or truck at a guaranteed low price. O'Reilly Auto Parts, better prices every day.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
I'm Bobby Likis, here with your radiator. Mr. Radiator, you're a guy with lots of connections.
Oh, yes, sir. Though I'm famous for keeping your engine from overheating, I have other friends in high places.
Like who?
Automatic transmissions. Yep, I keep them both cool under normal circumstances, but if your engine overheats due to neglect, it could be curtains for your transmission, too.
You heard it straight from Mr. Radiator's mouth. Keep 'em all happy under the hood. Service your radiator every 2 years. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Count down to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And a special welcome to this grand morning. It's so beautiful, right? We're coming to you from the Car Clinic Studios located in the heart of the Gulf Coast. And first, hats off to, and our hearts go out to all of the residents and the tourists and the locals there, as well as folks that were visiting Mexico Beach when Hurricane Michael went through. And I will tell you that area is devastated. We dodged a bullet. In 2004, Ivan came through Pensacola, Florida, and devastated. We had 48,000 blue roofs. A blue roof is where FEMA comes in and covers a roof that's been damaged with a tarp, a blue tarp. They call it blue roofs. Well, in Mexico Beach, they didn't have many roofs left to cover. So a special broadcast, and we'll dedicate today's broadcast to everyone along the Gulf Coast that did suffer damage from the recent Hurricane Michael. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part this morning by Motor-Rad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. You can learn more about their products and industry-leading application coverage. Where? At Motor-Rad USA. That's motorradusa.com. Okay, 888 Car Clinic. Hannah will take your call, put you in the queue. And oh, by the way, selling your car, there's a company called Blinker that I'm going to share with you an app that will help you prepare when I come back. This car repair spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. We recently had a 97 SL Mercedes in our Car Clinic service shop with an erratic AC problem that made the car undrivable. Start the engine, AC worked perfectly. Cold air blowing out the center vents. But drive it 2 blocks and the AC shifted to heat with all air blowing out the top. From experience, we believe the issue was a vacuum leak. After hours of testing and reading vacuum diagrams, we called our local O'Reilly Auto Parts counterman, asked him to help us search for Mercedes AC parts known to fail. Wouldn't you know, he came up with 2 specific parts, and we ordered both, installed them, and the system worked as new. It's terrific to have parts professionals on your side, not only for routine parts like brake pads, but when you really need help. Our customer got his car fixed, and we were able to close out another successful repair. That's why our first call for parts is O'Reilly Auto Parts. This car repair spotlight is brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A brought to you by Motor-Rad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Today's question, what role does the radiator pressure cap play? The pressure cap regulates internal pressure in the system using 2 valves, a pressor and a depressor. The pressure cap controls the release of hot coolant into the recovery tank as the coolant expands from the heat, all the while maintaining pressure that is critical to preventing overheating. Turn the engine off, the antifreeze cools down, causing a vacuum in the system as the internal pressure decreases. This decrease in pressure could cause hoses to collapse and coolant levels to be incorrect. This expansion and contraction of coolant in and out of the recovery tank helps to maintain proper coolant levels. This is why it's critical to regularly inspect and replace when necessary your radiator pressure cap. Motor-Rad offers the best coverage of thermostats and pressure caps in the world for virtually any vehicle and engine on or off the road. Motor-Rad, leading the way in coverage and service. For more, go to motorradusa.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Rosie Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Folgers Mountain Glow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started. As I mentioned during the open, if you're selling your car, Blinker has an app for that. And folks, gone are the days, when you felt that you have to go to a dealer and trade in your used car. Today, more than 12 million used cars are sold through a private party. Yet, how do you make the most out of the process? And that can be difficult. So I want to share with you throughout this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic 5 points that I picked up from Blinker. It's blinker.com if you want to take a look in your time. Right now, it's our time. So speaking of our time, I'll invite you to call 888 Car Clinic, 888 227 2546. That's 227-2546. Miss Hannah will take your call, put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. And on the air with us now is Bill from North Carolina with an 08 Ford Expedition. Bill, you're first in, so you're first up. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning, Bobby. Glad you dodged a bullet, and thank you for taking my call.
We are so glad. Thank you, Bill. We are so glad that we dodged a bullet because we did not in 2004. But I will tell you, not an hour and a half from here, in fact, 2 hours and 15 minutes drive time from where I sit is Mexico Beach, and it was absolutely devastated. And I mentioned early on, Bill, in the open and just before taking your call about how to sell your car from Blinker, and I've got some points, but what I also have to throw in there, and we will a little later in the program, is how to take care in buying a car, especially after hurricanes. And think of the cars that are damaged. And just for your information, any car that has saltwater damage, not necessarily rainwater, but of course, if you're on the beach, they're one and the same. But any car that has saltwater damage, by the laws of the state of Florida, and I'm sure other states as well, but by the laws of the state of Florida, must have a completely total title. And you can wash those titles, literally, no pun intended. So you have to be careful. But we'll talk about that a little later in the program, and also I'll give you some of Blinker's tips on how to sell your car. But first, let's talk about your expedition. How may I help you this morning?
Okay, last week, by the way, you sent a lot of that weather up here. We were blowing good and had a lot of rain up here in North Carolina. Last week, the beginning of the week, I aired the tires on it and, of course, adjusted for the cold weather, which they took about 3 pounds per tire.
Okay.
And we went off the mountain on Wednesday, and halfway down, the light sensor came on for the tires. And this particular car does not have a readout individually pressure on each tire.
Right.
Anyway, it came on, went on down, and, of course, I stopped, looked at the tires. Everything was good on it. And when we came back up the mountain halfway, the light went off. Has not come back on since. But yesterday, left the house here after a moderate warm-up of the engine, and within a half a mile, the traction light came on, and the car acted like it was going into the limp mode.
Wow.
I went a little bit further and cycled through the switch on the dash, and the traction light came back on and went off with the switch. We went down, drove 10, 15 miles. Coming back up, the wife was driving, and she noticed that it was trying to downshift and so forth. And I don't know whether the traction light was on then. I would imagine it was. But it went off and everything's normal. But I don't know. I'm sure it's probably pulled a code on it. And I haven't had time to take it in or anything. Any ideas or input on it? I put 50 years in auto repair myself, but way back before the computers and all.
I understand. I hear you well. Of course, let me ask this question. During this time, you set the tire pressure before any of these occurrences, and then you went down the mountain and back up the mountain. But during this time afterwards, have you rechecked the tire pressure? I assume that you have, and if so,
yes, sir. I rechecked.
Okay, so
rechecked it.
So there are no irregularities in tire pressure pursuant to the lights.
Not a bit.
Okay.
In fact, I did what you do and put 2 pounds extra. They're 37 all the way around.
That sounds right on to me. So there are 2 types of traction control of actually TPMS systems. A tire pressure, actually 3. There's a direct tire pressure monitoring system where each wheel has a battery-powered sensor that reads the pressure within the tire and transmits that to the car. You can have that system but still not have individual tires noted. But you have to have that system to note the actual pressure. And so the newer the car, say GM specifically comes to mind, because a couple, 3, 4 years ago they came out with this system where you're sitting in your living room and you can start your car, or you can look at the tire pressure. You can even check the fuel in the tank. So I said all that to say this: the direct pressure is when you have a battery-powered sensor in each tire that's mounted in the tire. And indirect is where you use the speed sensor. And Bill, a speed sensor is a speedometer. It uses just a reluctor wheel, like the if you remember the old Hall effect, like a flywheel where you've got a sensor mounted, and then the teeth in the flywheel go around. There's magnetic particular points that let the computer know the position of the engine. So when you have a reluctor in each wheel, then the car has a speedometer in each wheel, so that if 4 wheels are going 40 miles per hour and turning 1,000 RPM, but 1 wheel, or 3 wheels, and 1 wheel is going 40 miles per hour, the car we know is going 40, but it's turning 1,200 RPM, it has shorter legs, or it's low of pressure because it's a shorter tire because it's flatter. And so it has to travel faster and to keep up. So it's speed related. Now, how do you slow the tire down? You add the tire pressure. So the speedometer in each tire reports the speed of the tire, and the speed of the tire relative to the speed of the car is controlled by the size of the tire, and the size of the tire is controlled by the pressure. That's a lot of technical, but I want you to understand how it worked, because both the TPMS light that came on that should not have, according to what I hear you say, and the traction control light are common. That's the only common, not the only, but it's the most common denominator that I can put together between your traction control, stability control, and your TPMS. So what I would do is what you already planned to do, but let me run you through it. I would go first to find an ASE Master Certified Technician. And I can't emphasize enough how important that is. Today's cars, there's absolutely nothing simple, including changing oil and filter, quite candidly, about working on today's cars. And you have to have an individual who is not only trained, whose mindset cares enough to spend the time to take the training courses and the classes. And I see this every day, and I see it when we have new technicians come into our fold, and we say, okay, you have to get ASE certified. Well, I had some certification, but I let them drop. Well, that won't work here because we're a Blue Seal shop. Everybody has to be certified. And I can tell you, without going too deeply into
the own business here, we QC, customer set, every car before it leaves, and we find mistakes. And any shop that doesn't really test everything that's done by their technicians is turning out work that needs to be tested before it turns out. So I'll just share with you then what I would suggest is you find a shop, and you can do that by going to asashop.org, asashop.org, put in your zip code and you'll find the local shop. Unfortunately, ASA doesn't make it as easy as I'd like, so you have to look down to the bottom and scroll down to the bottom of the page, Bill, but you can find where to locate a shop. ASA is really more interested in their members, I'm a member, than the consumer. And so I feel like that I try to help service shops that are ASA members by explaining how you as a consumer can find an ASA shop. Now, anyway, so you find a shop and you go in there, you have the code read, but reading the code is not the big deal. It's using a professional scan tool, Bill, that can get into the electronic architecture of the onboard computers, and a reader will not do that. So don't go to a parts store and get your codes read. Go to a certified shop and get it read, and then if you need be, call me next week and we'll follow up on next steps, but I think you'll know what to do after this information, and I'll be back. Entertainment, GPS, heated seats, backup cameras, and start-stop technology. Just a few of the electrical demands we put on today's vehicles. AGM or absorbent glass mat batteries are up to the challenge. They're precision engineered to offer the ultimate combination of power, durability, and reliability. AGM Battery Advantage is robust design. With high compression cell design and glass mat separators, AGM batteries are built to excel in the most demanding conditions. AGM, the better battery for today's vehicles. Learn more about AGM advantages at autobatteries.com. October is Fall Car Care Month. The Car Care Council reminds you there's no better time to perform a thorough check of maintenance items. Brakes, batteries, tires, cooling systems, filters, headlights. These are just a few things to consider before harsh weather hits. Visit carcare.org to find out how you can best keep your vehicle safe, dependable, and on the road longer. You can even develop your own custom service schedule. It's Fall Car Care Month. Are you Car Care aware? Learn more at carcare.org. A 2000 Chrysler Concorde with a 2.7 V6 recently came into the shop. The owner was having issues with low oil pressure and a warning light. After testing and inspection, we found sludge in the engine. The owner was partly to blame as he had not changed the oil off it enough. But sludge buildup is a common problem in this engine. Do you overhaul this old engine in this old car? Well, maybe, but Berryman engine oil flush may help. Berryman engine oil flush quickly and safely removes harmful sludge and other deposits in the crankcase of all gasoline and diesel engines without using aggressive solvents. Berryman frees sticky valves and lifters for quieter operation, opens restricted oil passages that improve overall oil circulation. Berryman's engine oil flush is compatible with all single-grade and multi-grade conventional and synthetic gasoline and diesel engine oils. Drive to BerrymanProducts.com for more information and to check out Berryman Engine Oil Flush. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
Higher, 98.
Higher.
Higher, 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your hosts, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to today's broadcast. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by Johnson Controls, the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries, which are built to power start-stop technology, backup cameras, entertainment systems, and all the other electrical demands of vehicles today. You can learn more at autobatteries.com. That's autobatteries.com. And you can learn more by calling 888 Car Clinic. Miss Hannah will take your call at 888-227-2546. Put you in the queue, and I will put you on the air. On the air with us now is Carmilla from New York with a Volvo, an 05 Volvo. Carmilla, good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure. What can I do for you?
Well, last week I was going to work, and a deer jumped out in front of my car. Miraculously, it only hit my headlight. The hoof hit my headlight and shattered it. So I went on to work, and then I reported it to my insurance company. And about a day or two later, I was driving to work again, and my car just cut out on me as I was driving. So I stopped. It felt like I couldn't get any gas. I didn't see any lights, and then I think the lights went on the dashboard, and I started it up, and it went, and then a while later it did it again, and then it didn't happen for a few days. So I stopped at a car dealer across from where I had my car estimated and asked him about it because he had some foreign cars on his lot, and he said, I will definitely let your insurance know about it in case it had something to do with what happened. So I let the insurance know. I got a rental, and I'm not driving it now because I'm afraid to drive it because it happened a second time on a very busy boulevard. So I'm not driving it now, but I have no idea what's going on with it. I had someone who replaced my headlight scan it, and there's no codes coming up on it. So I don't know what.
So, Carmilla, let me ask a question because you've already answered that one question that I had. But when you say headlight was broken, are you saying no fender damage or hood damage?
No fender damage. It leaped out of the bushes on a hill.
Right.
And it was a bushy area on the one side of the road I was traveling. And miraculously, it leaped over my car, but its hoof hit my headlight.
Wow.
I've never seen anything like it.
No, I guess.
But I was very grateful that it was only that and not the whole front end.
Well, that changes then. Here's what I'm going to say about that. Because there was no bodily impact, I mean, we can consider the hoof was like someone analogous to someone taking a hammer and just breaking your windshield, because that's indeed what happened, the hoof of the animal. So I do not believe that has any connection. It is connected whatsoever to the vehicle stopping and dying.
Okay.
I do not. Mainly because the impact to the headlight from the animal's hoof made no impact to the car, and quite candidly, there are people that run into other people and cause front damage and rear damage and even hit poles or those stand-up poles at a service station. I don't see it every day, but we all know. And yet, here's the bottom line. If you saw some of the cars that came into our shop that are still running after they've been in accidents, you would say, why are you even driving that car? And so it's amazing to me that cars will even run. And we did have one college student who crashed her car and came in. The transmission was bad. And I was surprised that it even would crank and run, but that's nonetheless that happened. So, having said that, and there's no codes in the vehicle, what I have to believe is that you've got something in the fuel delivery, and a fuel pump would. And I'm not telling you or suggesting to have a fuel pump installed, because when you do have it installed, that's going to be a bit expensive, because the fuel pump should not be installed just as a pump. It should be installed as a module, and the module looks like a coffee can, a bucket. And that bucket has check valves and the wires and the pump and the fuel gauge and all those. It's an electronic module. It's what it is. And so it's very critical any time any automobile has any fuel pump removed or replaced, the assembly should be replaced, period. And I guess if you were out, I say anytime, I guess there would be circumstances where that part might not be available and you were on the road and had to put just the pump in. That would be, you got to do what you got to do. But that really rarely does that happen. Now, getting back to your Volvo, you're not driving the car. Is the insurance company paying for your rental all this time? That doesn't sound like the insurance companies that I have.
I've had it since last Saturday, so I've had the car a week.
Okay. And what's...
I wasn't able to bring my car in immediately to have the light replaced,
okay.
And I had to order a light.
Okay, but now, didn't you just tell me that you had someone that already replaced the light bulb?
The whole light assembly.
Yeah, has that been...
Yes, I just had it done, yes.
Okay, by whom?
By a body shop.
Okay. So then if your car is fixed, light-wise, insurance connection, actually, because I can't fix your car, I'm trying to help you get to the other side of your situation, because you can't stay in this rental car forever because they're not going to pay.
No, I know. I mean, that's why I'm calling.
Exactly. So I think
either have to.
Okay, so here's what you got to do. You trust the shop that replaced the headlight? Are they a certified shop, automotive repair?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
Are they a collision?
But he told me I've got to bring it. He was too busy to do anything else on the car. He said to bring it back Monday morning.
Okay.
So.
All right, fine. Now we're on the same page. I'm caught up here. So Monday morning, without fail, you get your Volvo out to that shop, have someone pick you up, and you could probably drive it, and then. I don't know how much longer your insurance will pay for this rental car. I wouldn't want you to go for a week or two, and then all of a sudden you got a $500 car rental bill.
No, I agree.
Okay,
yes.
so don't just stay. Have you? I'm concerned for you. Have you talked to your insurance company about the length of time they will pay for this car rental?
Well, they sent me a letter and. They said that up to 30 days my policy will cover.
But if your car's already fixed, they're not gonna just graciously give you.
No, I know that. I mean, I know.
So
that's why I'm wanting to get this.
So Monday.
Taken care of,
so Miss Carmela, Monday. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to get your car in the shop, in a repair shop, for them to test the dyeing. I also want you to call your agent, voice to voice. And discuss where you are with this car so that you don't get a surprise, because the money that you're going to be paying for this rental car, when you find out they ain't paying for it, is money you could spend on your own car and benefit from that. That's my advice. You got it?
Right.
Okay. You understand what I'm saying? Any questions?
Yes. Well, I have another question. Another thing it's been doing is...
Wait. I'm sorry. Do you have any questions about procedure that you're going to be doing Monday with regard to car rental?
Oh, no.
Okay.
No, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I was going to call my insurance again anyways, because I want to make sure that it's okay that I continue with this car.
Exactly. Okay. We're on the same page. I want you to... Okay. Now, what's your other question, your additional question?
Well, another thing it's been doing is when I go to brake, or I put my foot on the brake to slow down to make a turn, my car will feel like there's some kind of pressure in the brake, and then all of a sudden I'll hear a thump, like it'll catch and I'll hear a thump, like something underneath is like coming forward.
Well, what we have seen, and two things, it could be a suspension part, like a sway bar or a strut, that under pressure, because when you step on, if the car is going X speed, and you stop, then anything that's moving wants to continue to move, and the wheels and tires on the ground are saying, whoa, and so they try to come apart. And if there's a suspension grommet or rubber or bushing or joint, like a ball joint, I'm not suggesting that is, but if there's a suspension issue, you're putting that suspension to the test. just like if you were a jackrabbit start or a hard stop. You're putting it to the test. That's one thing. Number two, it could be something not connected with the suspension specifically, but it could be in the ABS system where the ABS is triggering momentarily. But here's what I suggest that you do. First let me ask this quick question. Can you make this car do that, or is it erratic in that thumping?
It doesn't do it every single time.
Yeah. Could you take me for a ride in a 2-mile ride and stop several times and be assured that you can at least get it to thump a couple of times?
Probably.
Okay. Then here's what I want you to do. In addition to taking your car Monday to the shop, your Volvo, I want you, before you leave that shop, to have a technician ride with you and you drive, and you show that technician the bumping noise, because the technician is going to be challenged in 2 ways. One, when you get there, your car's not going to die, because that's what happens. You know it and I know it. So you may have to leave it for 2 or 3 days before the car dies on the technician, if it does. Number two, there can be a lot of thumps and bumps and grinds, but you want to make sure that the problem that you feel in what the car is doing that you don't like, the technician understands what that is, because his definition, it could be, well, I found a loose jack in the trunk. That's what it was. It's the jack moving around. No. This is not the jack moving around. This is something underneath the car that's heavier than just a little jack. So here's your marching orders. You call your insurance company Monday, voice to voice. You take your Volvo into the service shop. You do not leave it until a technician or someone at the service desk rides with you. You drive. You take them for a ride. You stop several times until they hear that noise. Then you can leave your automobile with an agreement that you're going to pay them a maximum, say, of 2 hours of their time to determine what the next steps are in repairing your Volvo. You got it?
Okay.
Okay.
My fear, I would have loved to have taken it to a Volvo dealer, but my fear is it's an 05 and I don't want to have an astronomical bill.
Well, that's why you're right. So that's why you agree to 2 hours only, and then you know what money you're spending. But after the 2 hours are up and they have a prognosis, they're to call you back and get authorization for next steps. Folks, got a hard break. I'll be back. We recently sat down with Kate Searlick, Global Product Management Lead with Johnson Controls. Kate talked about the advantages of AGM batteries, noting they outperform traditional flooded batteries when partially charged, a key benefit if your normal driving consists of shorter trips. Let's hear from Kate.
Today's charging systems are not negatively affected by installing an AGM battery, and no modifications are needed for the alternator or the charging system. In fact, an AGM battery actually performs better when partially charged than a standard flooded battery. This means if you're not driving long enough distances to fully charge the battery, an AGM battery more efficiently performs and not consume additional power from the alternator. We were able to validate this in fleet testing we conducted in Las Vegas, where we witnessed AGM batteries providing up to twice the service life of a standard flooded battery.
AGM batteries help meet the electrical demands put on today's vehicles, and Johnson Controls is the world's largest producer of automotive AGM batteries. Learn more at autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but mornings knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Today's broadcast is brought to you in part by K-Seal, the one-step permanent multi-purpose system for coolant leak repair, including head gaskets, engine blocks, water pumps, and radiators. You can learn more at kseal.com. And if you have an older car that has a head gasket problem and the car is not worth as much as the repair, then you're a prime candidate for K-Seal, and K-Seal has helped a lot of my customers. So go to kseal.com for more information. Okay, plenty of time for you to get your call in. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Hannah will take your call, and I will put you on the air. Now, if you need help, and I mentioned this earlier in the program about Blinker, there's a Blinker at blinker.com. There's a Blinker app for helping you to sell your car. And folks, with cars selling on average within a month and with multiple offers, automotive selling, buying, and financing platform Blinker wants to give you tips on how to sell your car fast, on your own, and with confidence. So I'm going to share with you, and there are 5 tips here. I'm going to share with you what I think is information that is pertinent, it's valuable, and can help you. And quite candidly, I have a Porsche that I've threatened to sell for 20 years. Actually, I've owned the car 33 years. And it's my decision. I really haven't done anything to sell it yet. So every chance that I see on tips on how best to sell the car, then I'm refreshed. So let me share with you, because you may take action on selling your car a lot faster than I. First and foremost, photos matter. Just like in your online dating profile, your car's photo options matter. Blinker even uses their proprietary algorithm developed by their computer vision team, which analyzes users' photos and gives them a score based on the total number of photos. The best is at least an 8. That's the number. Variety of poses, interior, exterior, image quality, brightness, sharpness, and framing. That all makes a difference. That's number 1 tip. Number 2, respond. Again, just like in online dating, the response rate is critical in selling your car. In fact, seller responsiveness is one of the most important aspects that a seller can have control of when selling their car, especially when there may be 4 or 5 conversations taking place before the car is sold. Some apps, like the Blinker that I'm speaking of, even develop proprietary algorithms to calculate, get this, seller response scores, because their vehicles have a greater likelihood of the vehicle selling. So there are 2 of the important information. In fact, our producer, Fabio, said, well, you know, I'm thinking about selling my car. I'm really interested in hearing this. So let's go on to number 3, pricing. Gosh, I think that's the single biggest issue I have, and Fabio, you probably as well. Pricing of a used car plays a key component, this is according to Blinker, in the likelihood of a vehicle selling. Blinkers found that providing users with the black book value of their car allows the seller to price at a fair market value for optimal sales potential, And vehicles sold on Blinker received offers within, get this, 98% of the Black Book value. So, Fabio, that's really important. And typically sold approximately 5% under the asking price. That's a great stat. That's a great stat. Number 4, test drive location. And this can be tricky. Meeting with a total stranger in person can be intimidating, as if selling a car on your own, wasn't already. But choosing a safe meetup point for the test drive can make the process a lot easier and open your options to more buyers. Blinker partnered with Big O Tires to provide users with safe test drive locations where they also get a free visual inspection, or in this case, a $40 comprehensive inspection done before purchase. We call that a pre-purchase vehicle inspection. Now, I'm not saying that you can get that performed for $40, but through the Blinker app with their partners at Big O Tires, you can. Number 5, utilize an app with secure payment transfer. I mean, I thought about this, which comes first, the chicken or the egg? You pay me for the car. Well, you give me the car and I'll pay you. No, you pay me because we don't live in the same town. So here's that could be, I mean, that's always probably should be number 1, maybe. Number 5 is utilize an app with secure payment transfer. And according to Blinker, there are a dozen great apps that'll help you collect payments in private party transactions securely. However, Blinker is the only free car selling app with secure and immediate meaning next day money transfer. That'll help you pay off your existing loans and even handle all the DMV paperwork electronically. So nothing to lose, everything to gain. So now, today, tomorrow, when you perhaps are thinking and considering selling your car, check out blinker.com. Just like turn signals. Blinkers, you got it? And I'm going to keep my cheat sheet here because this is definitely something that I'm most interested in, and especially the part about secure payment transfer, so that if you sell your car for X, you get the X, and the person that pays the X gets your car. Really great. It's great information, and I'm glad that I found this for you, and I received it from Blinker's PR from actually Mackenzie DeLuca at mmdpr.com, blinker.com. Great app, and today's technology makes us and our lives more convenient by using the apps. And speaking of today's technology, I'll share this with you. And by the way, Hannah will take your call if you have a question. Still plenty of time. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. So here's the latest on GM. They filed 2 aero-related patents for a mid-engine hybrid supercar. And aero means aerodynamics. So they filed more patents regarding active aerodynamics, and this time they're clearly for a mid-engine car. I'm not going to read you this whole report, but I will share with you that you have heard, and if not, you're hearing it today, about the mid-engine Corvette. So no doubt this is what that's about, the mid-engine Corvette. And although, folks, I was never a Corvette fan, the fiberglass bodies didn't fit well. I mean, I know because I had a Viper, and it was a hand-built fiberglass carbon fiber body. It didn't fit well either. That's just part of what you get. But fast forward from the 2000 and the early classic cars to today's technology, and the fit and finish on a new Corvette is fantastic. So the new 8 Series, I think, is a fantastic automobile. Again, I'm not a Corvette fan, but if I wanted to buy an American-made sports car for the biggest bang for the buck, it would be a Corvette. And now I'm being teased even harder by a mid-engine Corvette. So this new patent was first discovered on Jalopnik, and they follow the patents for the past year detailing the Corvette's aero. So while the previous filing that they found dealt with the system itself, the new patents mention systems that could control the actual movements of the wings of the car or the underbody of the car. Who knows? But it's a rumored that it's for the C8, the new series of the Corvette, which is also rumored to be a hybrid variant in the future. So if you think about what a Ferrari cost or a Lamborghini cost, and they're fantastic cars, and you think about a third of that price or half that price or a quarter of that price, a Corvette, and then you bump that standard price. I guess a standard price could be in the $60,000, and certainly you couldn't get a mid-engine Corvette electronic powered and engine powered, and I say engine hybrid for that. But certainly that would have to be a fast automobile, a car they're already getting 26 miles per gallon or better on the Corvette. So that's really, compared to European sports cars, Detroit's Corvette's the biggest bang for the buck. That's all I'll say about that. That's not all I'll say about the broadcast. But I will tell you, next Saturday is going to be a really important day for our affiliate WLKF in Lakeland. Why? Well, the Mid-Florida Auto Show and Lake Mirror Concours, which is a wonderful display of more than 500 show vehicles surrounding the restored 1920s Art Deco Lake Mirror Promenade in downtown Lakeland. So now, in its 19th year, the show is considered one of the must-attend collector car shows in the Southeast United States. So the three-day event includes multiple experiences that you can participate in with your car or just go there as a spectator. Really, really terrific. It's a community credit union sponsored by Mid-Florida as a sponsor and supporter of the Gasparilla Concours d'Elegant, which is an inaugural event. The bottom line, check it out if you're in Lakeland next Saturday on the 20th. For the Mid-Florida Auto Show. That's going to be a really great information and a lot of fun, and you can take your kids out with you and show them. They'll have old cars, they'll have new cars, they'll have electric powered EV cars, and they'll have, of course, trucks, and perhaps they'll have some concepts there. And one of the things that was always sort of interesting to me, not sort of, but it was sort of concerning to me, rarely do we see a concept make it to the showroom floor. I mean, you look at a concept, and Buick did this a couple, 3 years ago, and they are going to bring this four-door sedan that's going to be a gorgeous, I mean, if you were to, well, we'll talk about that in another later show. That's for another day. But I can tell you, if you go to a car show of any sorts, and especially the international auto shows where the new car manufacturers premiere their concepts and their newest cars, but even to a show like I just mentioned in Lakeland, all of the OEMs will participate in those shows because that's a good place to show your wares. So when you go there as an interest, and because you have an interest in a classic car, or maybe you have a classic car, or a newer car, you also have the opportunity to see a car that you would not normally get to see, nor would a dealer get to see these cars, because they're one-offs. And when I say a one-off, they could even be a clay car, where they actually sculpt the car so they can look at the lines and feel the lines, and I mean, a picture, it's worth 1,000 words. A sculpted car, oh, what's that worth? I mean, it's the real thing, and so many times I've walked up to a mock car, and in fact, at Pebble Beach, Concours d'Elegant in California, several years ago, when we produced a remote broadcast with Meguiar's Wax. And by the way, Meguiar's Wax is still a company today and still does really well, albeit owned by 3M, That's right. 3M bought McGuire's Wax. But at this Concours d'Elegance at Pebble Beach, there was this beautiful, gorgeous Thunderbird. That's right. It was when the Thunderbird first came out, but it wasn't on the market yet. In fact, I think Ford missed the target there for two reasons. Number one, they had some engine problems with the first deliveries, or actually the first assemblies, so they did not deliver those cars. So it stymied the initial delivery of the car. The same thing happened with the Lincolns later on, but specifically the Thunderbird. And then second, but the car looked good. It was got retro. The second concern was the interior. The interior didn't quite cut it. It was a little too much plastic, in my opinion. A little too much. The difference between, one of those $79.99 boom boxes that gives you everything that you ever want to need. The problem is it looks like that someone took plastic and molded it and then sprayed it gray. I mean, that's what it is, really. But so that's what, in my humble opinion, that's what the Ford Thunderbird interior looked like. Having said that, I still think, and to this day, I still watch one of those when I see it going down the road. So there you have it. That's about all that I have for today's broadcast, at least for this first hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. For all of you folks at watchbobbylive.com, I'll wave to you. And remember, every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, 10 till noon Eastern Time, we come to you, and I'm here to help you and share with you my 47 years of automotive experience, one call at the time. Sometimes those calls are long. The reason is that you can't just give someone a yes or no answer with something so important as how to take care of their car or how to talk with their local service shop when having their car repaired, because that's an open-end proposition. And we're at a closed-end proposition right here because we're out of time. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for calling. Look forward to a few minutes on the second hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'm Bobby Likis. Likis, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Coolant leaks can be expensive, with repairs costing a few $1,000s or more. And these problems often hit vehicles late in life when they may be only worth a few $1,000s. There is an alternative. K-Seal is a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Older sealers use sodium silicate, which has a tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging. Learn more about K-Seal at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it. HEST, or high-energy solvent technology, is what differentiates Berryman products from other additives, providing a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. But don't take our word for it. Here's a testimonial from Olivia. Her 99 Infiniti Q45 with 170,000 miles was starting to hesitate and lag. After doing her research, Olivia decided on Berryman's B12 Chem Tool. According to her, the product works great and it's less expensive. Great value. Learn more about Berryman products and their HEST technology at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with, and by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemals. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's Vehicle Protection Program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Count down to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning. Welcome to this hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I want to, as I did the first hour, devote today's broadcast to everyone in Mexico Beach and everyone in Panama City in the area where the Hurricane Michael went through. That hurricane was really devastating. And quite candidly, folks, having been through a similar experience with Ivan right here from our center of the automotive universe, Pensacola, Florida, in 2004, I fully understand exactly how that feels. But I can tell you this, from watching television, which was what we all did the day that it came in, we really couldn't tell, and I couldn't tell, that there was any damage or any serious damage being done. And I stand corrected. It was unbelievable at the devastation of homes and houses and businesses that are no longer there. So for everyone across the nation, let's dedicate today's conversations to Mexico Beach. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by the Car Care Council, our partners. The Car Care Council reminds you that October is Fall Car Care Month, and you can visit carcare.org to learn how you can keep your vehicle safe, dependable, and on the road longer. That's carcare.org. Your calls at 888-227-2546 when I come back. We recently worked on an 03 Buick Park Avenue with a 3.8 engine, and the vehicle had been a workhorse, 190,000 miles and more. That said, fuel economy had slipped from 24 mpg to 19. On cold startup, the check engine light flashed. In addition to rough idling, engine fuel trim pointed toward carbon issues. A quick scan revealed random misfire code P0300. The codes were cleared, and after a visual inspection of the ignition system and fuel filter change, we added a can of Berryman B12 Chem Tool to a fresh tank of fuel. After a 400-mile round trip and a second can of Berryman B12 Chem Tool, fuel economy was back to 24 miles per gallon and idle quality was restored. Many times, complex running issues are traced to carbon issues on today's vehicles. Fuel system maintenance starts with simple tank additives as the first step in carbon cleaning your engine. The next time your vehicle is sluggish or experiencing fuel economy that's not up to par, try Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com. That's berrymanproducts.com. Car repairs get expensive, and most of us don't have spare money for them. That's where brands like K-Seal really can be a lifesaver. A leaking freeze plug is definitely cause for concern. The plugs seal the cooling system and are a common cause of leaks on aging engines. And while the plugs themselves are not terribly expensive, replacement can be a tedious job. It's because most freeze plugs are difficult to gain access to, not to mention the fact that you have to drain and refill the entire cooling system. All of this ultimately makes for an expensive repair. So what can you do if your vehicle is only worth a few $1,000s? That's where K-Seal comes in. Pour K-Seal into the cooling system, and it will work to seal the system as you drive. Never clogs up. It also stays in the system and can help prevent future leaks as well. We've used K-Seal on many cars in our shop and have had great results. Find K-Seal at automotive retailers nationwide and get more information at kseal.com. That's kseal.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com.
When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at lendingtree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Hannah will take your call at 888 Car Clinic and put you in the queue, and I'll be glad to talk with you on air. 888-227-2546. I'm smiling because I was talking with Fabio and also with sort of with Jonathan around the corner. I can't see Jonathan, but I know he's listening. Because they're in another room. They're in the control room, but I can see through this really great window. So say hello, Fabio, so that people know that you're real.
I am a real person.
I am a real person. Is that your male voice or your computer voice, or can we change the voice? No. So we were laughing at, and because I was listening to the K-Seal commercial, about freeze plugs. And, so I thought, well, this might be interesting. And, folks, I'll toss this out to you and get your input. What is a freeze plug in a block? And if they pop out when it freezes, why is that why they're there, so they can pop out when it freezes? Now that's obviously not the answer, but it's not a dumb answer or a question. And, it's just something for thought. What purpose does a freeze plug play in an engine? Because there are freeze plugs on every block. Cylinder heads have freeze plugs. Some intake manifolds have freeze plugs. At least that's what they're called. But there really aren't freeze plugs at all. But they've been around for years and years and years. Anyway, I just thought it'd be sort of an interesting conversation. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. I can tell you this. So if and this is another one of those what ifs, if water in your radiator expands when it gets hot, as heat, and it does, water expands, that's what you have an overflow tank for. And by the way, the radiator cap must hold pressure, because when you increase the pressure on liquid, on coolant, you increase the boiling point. I think it's 3.1 degrees for every pound of pressure. So that's why cars have 15, 18, 20 psi pressure caps, so that the boiling point of the water can be increased, because the engine's going to run 220, 230, and it can get up to 240. Here's a question for you techies out there. How hot is too hot in an engine? So before engine damage happens. So we'll think about it. Let's say that we've got a car and the water pump goes out, and the owner drives the car and the water pump's leaking, or maybe a lower hose or any hose blows going down the interstate. And will the light come on? Will the temperature light, or will the gauge go up? Well, actually, the gauge won't go up, because the gauge has to have its finger in the water, in the coolant, to work. Think about it this way. If you held your hand over a pot of boiling water, maybe some splash would burn you, but you wouldn't burn yourself like you would if you stuck your finger in boiling water. So the temperature sensor has to have its finger in coolant. And that's why, if you notice, and this is a good learning point, look at your temp gauge. Always look at your temp gauge when you first crank your car up in the morning and drive it for the first 5 miles, 2 miles, and see how fast the engine comes up to temperature. The faster it comes up, the more properly the engine is working. The later model automobiles and the higher technology use multiple thermostats for the same engine. The thermostats are located where the water transfers from the radiator to the water pump there's a Y pipe there, and there's a lot of plumbing that can be there. Nissan has some really strange plumbing as well. So strange that when you service a Nissan cooling system or replace a radiator hose on a Nissan, it really is a challenge to get all the air out. But having said that, 2 thermostats are needed. Why? Well, above the piston is where the fire is. That's the power. That's where the fuel in the air is burned and the pressure expands and pushes the piston down. So that's where the heat is, above the piston. Now that heat migrates into the block, but the oil pan never gets as hot as the head. I mean, why? Well, because it's a long way away from the fire, even though it's all one unit. So what manufacturers do is they put a thermostat in the cylinder head, because if you waited till the bottom of the motor got hot enough to open a thermostat, set it, say, 220 degrees, then the cylinder head would probably run 400 degrees or 300 degrees and warp and cause a head gasket to blow. So what manufacturers do is they use 2 thermostats. One thermostat controls the flow of water, coolant, between the radiator, which that's how the coolant dissipates the heat. So the thermostat for the cylinder head controls the temperature of the cylinder head. The thermostat for the block controls the block's temperature. So you say, well, gosh, how does that work? Well, they're controlled independently, and yet they're all bolted together. I guess you could say it's like having, to simplify that, dual air conditioning controls in the front seat of a car. And I've often wondered about this. My car has 4-position cooling. So the passengers in the rear seat, left rear, right rear, and front seat, driver and right front, have individual temperature controls. So you say, well, wait a minute, what's the collective temperature of the automobile? Well, in the area of the neck and shoulders and the headliner, I'm sure that all of that air eventually becomes similar in degrees. But the vent temperature blowing on each individual occupant can be adjusted by that occupant on those sophisticated cars. So that's how that all works. Now, you really don't want to get into having any problems with those things, because those things being those 4-stage controls, because each individual controller has its own each individual computer that talks to the master computer, the body control module. And that body control module, oh gosh, I didn't want to get into this technical, and I'm not. I'm just saying that and back to the freeze plug, and your input too. 888 Car Clinic. I'd love to hear from you. 888-227-2546. What about a freeze plug? But the control of the engine temperature, the control of the passenger's temperature, the control of the windshield, like defrosters. Does your air conditioner work in the wintertime? Yes, because you have to have some way to defrost the windshield. Now, the rear window has a heat strip in it. It has little tiny cigarette lighter elements. If you've ever looked at a cigarette lighter, it has little tiny elements. In fact, you never want to clean the interior of a rear glass with anything with a rough edge, because those strips of heating elements are laminate on the surface of the glass. So you've got a heater for the rear glass, defroster, but the front, and some windshields you can order that cost extra, like $500. Depends on where you live, of course. But the normal automobiles, every car comes with a defroster, and that defroster uses the heat from the engine to warm and melt the ice on the exterior of the windshield, and it uses the air conditioner, depending on how cold it is. It uses the air conditioner to dehumidify the inside of the window. And then now that leads me to think about, well, what about a car that, let's talk about used cars. Let's say you're looking at used cars, and let's say there's 50 cars on this lot, and it's been raining. Of course, if you live in the tropics where we live, in Florida, you just wait 20 minutes. If it's not, it will rain. That's almost the fact. So you look at a used car, or your own car, and the windows are closed up, and you see this car on the lot, and maybe one car catches your attention because its windows are fogged. What's wrong with that? All the cars have been sitting there for a week, maybe a month, but let's just say a week. But they've been there all one day, locked up, and the sun is out. But you'll see one car that has moisture. That's because it's vapor moisture, and that's because that car has a water leak. So if you're thinking about buying that car, if it strikes your fancy, you want to make sure that you find where the reservoir of water is, and it's probably going to be under a mat, or it could be in the trunk, or it could be in any one of the places. I've seen cars that leaked through the rear glass. Water would run down behind the rear seat, seep into the back footwell, and when you stopped, that water would come rushing under the driver's foot. You say, oh, my windshield's leaking, my feet are wet. Not really, it's coming from the back. Your calls when I come back at 888 Car Clinic. Don't go away. This Engine Care Spotlight is brought to you by Walker Products, a leading manufacturer of quality fuel system components and engine sensors. Today's vehicles are being pushed to new heights with increased fuel economy and fewer tailpipe emissions, which has created the need for a smarter and more sophisticated exhaust after-treatment system, featuring an array of sensors designed to help monitor and control the different aspects of vehicle operation and health. The EGT, or exhaust gas temperature sensor, plays a major role in multiple processes, and it's critical that the EGT is performing within their limits. But not all EGT sensors are created equal. Housing styles and materials vary, in addition to resistance types and temperature ratings. It's imperative that a consumer replace their EGT sensor with a correct OEM factory-style sensor. Walker Products has been supplying the automotive aftermarket since 1946 and manufactures all of its EGTs using only OEM-based sensors. Need a new sensor? Walker Products offers OE quality at aftermarket prices. Drive to walkerproducts.com. Berryman Products is celebrating their 100th anniversary, providing innovative products to the automotive aftermarket, like Berryman Chem-Dip carburetor parts cleaner that helps remove gum, varnish, fuel residue, and other harmful deposits from carburetor parts and throttle bodies without heat, aeration, or agitation. Berryman Chem-Dip carburetor parts cleaner is safe to use with most plastic and metal carburetor and throttle body parts, including steel and aluminum alloys. Learn more at berrymanproducts.com.
What 100-year-old automotive company makes dozens of products to extend your vehicle's life and improve its performance?
Let me see.
Which company uses high-energy solvent technology, or HEST?
It's on the tip of my tongue.
What company introduced B12 Chem Tool over 40 years ago? Still the best fuel system cleaner on the market?
Oh, don't tell me it's
Berryman Automotive Products. Correct. Berryman Automotive Products has lubricants, cleaners, solvents, hundreds of solutions, and every product all American-made since 1918. You'll find Berryman Automotive Products at AutoZone, Pep Boys, and Walmart. Now, why would you buy anything else?
You sure ask a lot of questions.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to today's broadcast, brought to you in part by Super Chips and the new Flashpack F5 performance tuners. Folks, you can add horsepower in minutes without even turning a wrench. And for a technical person, 47 years in the business, I think it's a miracle. In fact, when automobiles shifted toward computer controls, it was disappointing to me because I could no longer change the advance and no longer change the jets in the carburetor and no longer perform my modification tricks during a tune-up that made my customers really notice the difference between my tune-up and a standard regular plugs and points and condensers. That was years ago. Fast forward, now we're back into you can modify the cars. And it's exciting to me. I mean, Superchips is a programmer that you plug into the data port of your automobile, and it's a handheld and you just tune in what you want it to say, what you want it to do. Now, you've got to have a Ford or a GM or a Chrysler or a Jeep. Well, and take a shortcut. Go to superchips.com for more information, and you see why I'm excited, because you can add torque, horsepower, MPG, depending on your right foot, how heavy-footed you are, to your automobile without even opening the hood. Seriously. 888 Car Clinic, 888-227-2546. Wayne, good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for calling. Glad to have you join us today.
Well, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
First, you were talking about overheating. I have a 2004 RAV4 Toyota.
Okay.
And the heating problem, all of a sudden you'd be running normal and like, bang, it overheat.
Right.
I chased that. I had a coolant leak somewhere I couldn't find.
Yes, sir.
And I'd fill it back up with coolant. Everything would be running normal, and just around town. And all of a sudden, bang, it overheat.
Yeah.
What's your diagnosis?
Well, of course, you said you added coolant. So here's the what's your question? I mean,
my question is why does it run like that? I changed the thermostat. I forgot to add. I changed the thermostat out.
Yeah.
And put a new one in.
So in other words, your question is,
so
Wayne, your question is, why would it just run perfectly fine for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and on Thursday it goes bang, it overheats, right?
Overheats. Well, I forgot to add one thing about that, which is a critical thing. Yeah. Maybe you accelerated a little bit, and that's when it would choose to do that, or maybe not. Maybe it just arbitrarily would do it. It was an intermittent thing. You really couldn't say, okay, that's what it is.
Well, here's the bottom line. Air doesn't transmit water. Air doesn't transmit heat. Transfer heat. Forget the transmit. I've got technology on my mind.
I got you. Go ahead.
Okay, so air doesn't transfer heat, but water does. That's why in a radiator, for example, you've heard of a chemical that's called, well, the first one that came out was water wetter, and that's a chemical that you put in your cooling system that's supposed to help cars run cooler, and that's especially in the older cars, the muscle cars. If there are water bubbles in a radiator, every place there's a water bubble, and this is caused by surface tension. If you poured water on your windshield or on the hood of your car with wax, the water would run off, and then you'd have little beads of water, but everywhere there was wax, there'd be no water because it would run away. So for every bead on your hood, if that were the interior of a radiator, there would be no heat transfer. So an automobile that's healthy, not your Toyota, but an automobile that's healthy would run a few degrees cooler with water wetter because it removes the surface tension that water has. Now that's one caveat about cooling systems. Number two, your car obviously had air in the system. It was low on coolant. Like you said, you added coolant. And so what would happen is there would be air, but it would be enough water to cover the thermostat probably, and the thermostat would open and close until finally there wouldn't be enough air to cover the thermostat, and the thermostat's dumb. It's a coil, and it's got a little motor, a little wick device in it that expands. The spring doesn't open it, it closes it. So the little motor, which is looks like a little thimble in a thermostat, that pushes the thermostat open. Well, if there's no water surrounding that, you could melt the engine down, and that thermostat's happy because it's in the middle of the neck of a passageway with no coolant, so it doesn't get a signal. So that would say flash, and the engine would immediately overheat, or it would be semi-low. And Wayne, here's a caveat too, and this is where the erratic part comes in. Anytime you have a cooling system that is not completely filled with coolant and has air pockets, you will have a temperature gauge, as I mentioned early on. If you hold your finger over a boiling pot of water, you won't burn your finger. But if you put it in the water, you'll burn your finger. Same thing is true for the temperature gauge. Your temperature gauge has to have coolant surrounding it. Well, what happened, the gauge would be reading, say, normal, and then all of a sudden there would be no coolant, and it wouldn't change temperature because it's still at the same temperature until the hot water flashed, like throwing hot water on somebody. I mean, that's what you wouldn't do, but that's what happens when hot water boils and goes, and it gets on the gauge, and all of a sudden the gauge goes from, and you know this, Wayne, you can't take any material and go from 50 degrees to 100 degrees and back to 50, or from 200 to 300 and back to 200. It's like oil pressure. If you've got an oil pressure gauge that's erratic in its electric movement, where it goes from 0 or 20 to 50 to 20, like the flip of a switch, it's not a hydraulic problem. It's not an oil pressure problem. It's an electronic gauge problem, because there's accumulation of pressure and lack of accumulation or loss of pressure, and it drains out. It's not like you have a balloon with air and you just pop the balloon immediately, the balloon's gone and there's no air pressure. Oil pressure is not that way. Coolant is the same analogy. You have to have liquid in full total, because if you have air, then you have no control. Your questions.
Okay. While you're telling me all that, I put this out on the web, so to speak, to a bunch of my friends. One of them just came back and said, oh, that car has either a cracked head, which is most likely the problem, over one of the cylinders, and it pressurizes from the exhaust chamber and blows the coolant out, then it overheats. And maybe that's why the coolant disappears, although my plugs weren't showing that. And anyway, that's what I think the problem is. And he said that this guy that got back to me through the chain said that he's had a problem with those engines and the four-cylinders doing that with Toyota. He's replaced several of them.
Well,
so,
no doubt.
I don't know if that's the case or not, but
yes, but
I just wanted to share that with you.
Well, but Wayne, let me share this with you, because you got this online, and having 47 years experience and looking specifically, if you were to ask me or ask yourself what is wrong with my car, you wouldn't go online to find out what is wrong with your car. You would perform a test on your car.
Well, I said online, but I have a friend that's a mechanic. He didn't know anything about it. And anyway, he reached out to a mechanic.
Sure.
I said
understand.
Because that's where I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah, I got you.
My question to you is, have you ever heard of such a thing?
Yes. Sure. Head gasket's a common problem, and four-cylinders are more prone to actually, well, take that back, except for Range Rovers. The V8 Range Rover had head gasket problems. Only because of the type of material and the bolts used and what have you. So if you've got 150,000 miles on a Range Rover, you're going to have head gasket problems, and they'll sneak up on you. And you can perform the tests, because we've done this. But getting back specifically to you, yeah, I've heard that. Now, here's another caveat to that, or another suggestion. If you don't know what's wrong with the car and you want to test it, here's a way to do that. You can go to O'Reilly Auto Parts. You can buy an engine block tester, and it's not a sophisticated machine, Wayne. It's a simple plastic syringe, like a turkey baster, that comes with a blue fluid that is susceptible to exhaust gas fumes, and you just follow the directions on. It's really easy to do, and it's what I'd recommend you do before you even take the next step. Why? Because if you do have a head gasket, it is the exhaust gas that doesn't push the water out, by the way, from a terminology. It increases the heat of that coolant, because it's a hot exhaust gas, and it overheats the coolant, and the coolant then expands and starts to bubble and boil, and there's where your problems come in. So having said that, it is the heat that pushes it out. It's not the pressure. Having said that, again, the tester that I'm recommending that you buy is inexpensive. It's a liquid. You do not put the nipple of the turkey baster, of the little plastic syringe, into the coolant. You get the car hot and you let it idle. You carefully have the radiator cap off, because what you're doing, and think about this, Wayne, have you seen, you probably have in your car, have you seen those little misty bubbles, that little small tiny bubbles that as the coolant is overheating in the radiator? Have you seen that?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You want to sample the atmosphere above those bubbles, but not in those bubbles. And that atmosphere is fumes. Just like you mist, just like if you were to look, and you wouldn't look in this.
I got you. It's
okay,
exhaust fumes.
So it's exhaust, and those exhaust fumes will turn that blue engine block tester fluid yellow. And if you got just a little bit of exhaust fumes, they'll go green first. That's the easiest test, and I will tell you, I've never seen it fail. I did have a Range Rover that we had to put, 50 miles on before we ever could really pinpoint that it had a exhaust gas in the coolant. And that's all you care about. If there's exhaust gas in the coolant, you know you've got a head gasket problem, And just for your information, your car is a prime candidate for K-Seal. Not to be selling a product here, but if I had your car, that's the first thing that I would do on your car. That's the second thing I would do. The first thing I'd do is I would test for head gasket, because you could have other problems as well. You don't know. Any questions?
Nope. I'm gonna move the thing about the truck. I have a 05 Chevy 1500 V6. And
that's for another call. That's a hard break coming up. Hey, thanks so much for your call, and I appreciate it. Folks, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back to Kevin in Texas and Kevin in Florida. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Talking tunes? No, not the ones on your radio, the ones that allow you to reprogram your vehicle's factory computer, giving you more power, more torque, and a better overall driving experience. We recently sat down with Jim McGinn, Vice President of Marketing for Power Tech. Jim touched on the role a tuner plays when adding an intake or exhaust system.
Anytime you add an intake or an exhaust system, it's important to make sure that you have a tune equipped to help those hard parts work well together on your vehicle. The magic and beauty of the Diablo Sport tuners and the Reaper Stage 1 kits are that you get an air-fuel mixture that is already designed and engineered for the particular setup that you may be running to electronically compensate for the intake and the exhaust on your vehicles. Diablo Sport Jammer intake tunes make tuning easy anytime you add an intake or an exhaust.
Whether it's the Predator, the Intune i3, or the Trinity 2, you can find the perfect tune at DiabloSport.com. That's DiabloSport.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease. She showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to today's broadcast. We're going to go directly to the phones. On the whole, the longest is Kevin from Florida, actually. Kevin, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for holding.
Hey, thank you, Bobby. Thanks for taking my call.
My pleasure, sir. What can I do for you?
I've got a 1999 two-wheel drive Tahoe, full size.
Okay.
And going down the highway at night, the headlights will shut off uncommanded. Still have dash lights. Apparently, I've got tail lights, etc., but no headlights. And I pulled over, shut the truck off. Occasionally, I'll start it back up, and they'll come back on. I have heard a light little tick or tink sound from behind the dashboard. When this occurs, obviously the radio wasn't on. I have replaced the headlight switch that turns the headlights on and off, and I've also replaced the turn selector switch.
Okay, anytime that you're doing electrical, you need a wiring diagram. And just for you to know, the wiring diagram will show you where how the wire runs from the battery to the headlight switch and what have you. They're not that easy to trace unless you're a trained eye, but just know this: the tick that you're hearing is a circuit breaker. In your house, if you have a short, say in the microwave, the circuit breaker in the wherever your main box is, mine's in the garage, would pop open, and that circuit would stay dead. So you'd go out in the garage and you'd flip it off and back on and reset the circuit. In an automobile, you don't have that option. So what happens? There are two different things. What Mercedes does is they fuse the headlights, but they do it in two separate sides, left side and right side, so that if you ever had a problem with one, you only lose one headlight. In your Tahoe, there's a circuit breaker that automatically resets itself, and that's that noise that you hear. So number one, you could have something so simple as a circuit breaker, that's old and weak and used and tired. And if that's the case, regular loads, it can't stand up to regular loads. Or you could have,
it would cause the circuit breaker
to trip. And that circuit breaker, once it trips, and here's another, ironically, a turn signal, and you've probably in your lifetime replaced a turn signal flasher, a little round flasher. Well, a flasher is nothing more than a circuit breaker. And a flasher, when you turn on your headlight, your turn signals, the four bulbs come on, the front and rear, whatever how many bulbs the flasher's designed to handle, comes on. Well, the minute all the lights are on, or the second or 2 seconds that the turn signals are on, that flasher unit breaks the circuit and they go off. But the minute it breaks the circuit, it cools down so it comes back on. And it goes click, 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 and that's how turn signals flash. Because they use, okay, so what you have is the same circumstances in a main circuit breaker that's designed to open the circuit rather than burn the wires in the car. But obviously, you either got a weak flasher, weak circuit breaker, or you got an overdraw on the system. And the first thing you do is for you to find that flasher I'm sorry, I keep saying flasher. Find that circuit breaker in that system, and the easiest way to do that is with a wiring diagram, because that click, that can be mounted, you know, it can be mounted up in that dash, and gosh, unless you've been there before, you'd never know where it was. But anyway, I don't think you have a serious problem. I just think you have a weak relay, a weak circuit breaker. Now, having said that, I will share this with you, because we recently had an opportunity to work on a GMC that was a 96 model, and your vehicle qualifies.
Yes, sir.
The headlight switch, you said you replaced the headlight switch. Did you do it personally?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Can you tell me that the wires that plug in were healthy? All of that plug, male, female?
Yeah, it seemed to be.
Okay.
Everything seemed
Good.
seemed to be quite serviceable.
The reason that I ask is that there's a company called Berryman that makes replacement parts for the aftermarket. We had a 96 GMC truck in here that needed a complete dash harness, which is that could be a $3,000 job.
Yeah.
For a couple of $100 or 100, what it was, 35 or 40, Berryman made a new plug-in to the headlight switch with 12 pigtails. We only used 11 because that's all the car had, but they were identical, and I had to solder and heat shrink each particular wire. But the headlight switch was bad, and so was the plug-in behind the headlight switch. So I just wanted to know because if you had that problem, that's a common problem, by the way. But anyway, getting back to your...
Well, let me share this with you,
okay.
Bobby. When I changed the turn signal switch assembly,
yes, sir.
There were two wires in the connector going into the connector
right.
from the car side
right.
That were severed, that were obviously had... And I believe it had a little to do with the tilting of the steering wheel. And indeed, I thought, well, I've nailed my problem with changing this turn signal switch. And for a while, it did work. And when I say a while, a couple of months.
Got it.
And now I'm back to the same thing again. I'm afraid to drive the car at night.
Yeah, I'm with you. So find that circuit breaker and do look closely. You're right there on it. You may have to pull the cluster, and that's really not that hard to do. You don't have to pull the dash.
Is it a module? Will it be a module like
I do not know.
Relay little housing or something?
Yes, or it could be a relay looking affair, but you need a wiring diagram. Let me put you back on hold, and I'll give you let me give you my email address, and you send me an email, and next week, well, I don't know how soon I can do this. As soon as my schedule allows, I'll send you information. Bobby at carclinicnetwork.com. That's my personal email. Don't tell anybody. Okay.
Except people that are listening.
Okay.
Bobby at carclinicnetwork.com.
Network.com. Got to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to Kevin, another Kevin in Texas. Kevin, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Good morning. What can I do for you?
Hey, Bobby, how are you today?
I'm terrific. You?
Oh, I'm much the old fat and gray still.
Hey, let me tell you, I dodged a bullet. We dodged a bullet. We got 0 winds, mist of rain, and watched the TV with not an hour and a half from here. You know the devastation in Mexico Beach. But anyway, let's talk about your '91 Ford pickup. What can I do for you?
Well, my brother-in-law found this truck, and I used to be a mechanic till my ticker talked out. And I had to get a valve. I had to get a valve replaced, and then I had to get a valve job, but as in mechanics terms. But this is a '91 4-door short bed, half-ton Ford pickup.
Got it.
It's got a 7.3 Ford diesel in it, turbo with a 5-speed.
Right.
Now this truck, they didn't make the turbo 7.3 until 93 and a half.
Okay.
I know that because I went to school to work on them.
Okay.
And they had air intake ducts in the front bumper. They did make the 7.3 diesel in '91.
Okay.
However, I did some calling and checking, and they do make a grease seal kit for the front spindles for an 8-lug half-ton pickup.
8 lug?
My question to you:
I've never seen an 8 lug. I've never seen an 8 lug half-ton pickup.
I haven't either, but it is listed as an available part.
So what's your question?
My question is was this truck really produced by? It's got a conversion interior like a. Like you see on the conversion vans, you know, like
okay,
the
all
conversion
right.
companies.
So,
it's got, you know. The
so Kevin, let me help you here. This is a time that I will refer you online because it's really simple and it's dedicated. You could just Google VIN description or status or whatever. I don't know exactly what. Just put in how to read your VIN, and you can go online and put your vehicle identification number, and it will tell you what each end of this truck. It will tell you when it was made, where it was made, what differentials in it, what engines in it, and other things. So the size of the engine and all that. That's what you need to know, because what you described, 8 lug, you and I know is not a half ton. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah, well, I've never seen it before.
Well, and that's, you know, so you need to know for whatever purpose, you know, you need to know what the virgin truck came from the factory with regard to engine, transmission, differential, and tonnage. And all of that information is in the VIN number. There's a lot more, but all of that information that you need, and you can find that as we speak. So go online and put in VIN decode. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. How to decode the VIN, and it'll take you from there. And hey, thanks for calling, Kevin. Appreciate it. Hope you stay well. Let's take another call from Pennsylvania. Ron in Pennsylvania. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Yeah, hi, this is Ron again from State College. Last week you helped me with my distributor. I bench tested. It was the distributor. I put it in my Jeep, and the ignition is working fine. Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much.
The problem I have today is, and once you solve one problem, you find the other.
Yeah, talk to me about that.
So, for some reason, my engine is not idling. It's idling up and down about 100 to 200 RPM, hot or cold. In fact, when it's hot, it basically shuts down. It'll conk out. I can't get it to idle without putting your foot on the gas pedal.
Right.
I did a smoke test. There's no vacuum leaks. I checked the vacuum lines. They're all according to spec. For some reason, I have a Weber carb on this. I replaced the Rochester QSC, and I got a Weber K490 on here, 3632.
Okay.
Anyway, I'm trying to figure out why is this thing, the tack not stable, 100, 200, and why is it conking out when it's hot? Whatever that problem is, I haven't been able to isolate it. Do I have a bad carb, maybe?
Well,
I don't know.
Okay, so Ron, here's let's break this down real simple. In the carburetor, when the throttle plates are at rest, which means rest is when you back the idle screw all the way off and you synchronize the throttle plates and by loosening the screws in the throttle shaft. You don't normally do that because they're sealed, but that's the way you would do in an old carburetor. You would loosen those and just a quarter of a turn so that the plates can find their happy place in the bore of the carburetor. And then you would tighten the screws. After that, you would take the idle screw and run it down until it touched the idle stop, and then you would give it a good half turn. Now, you know that you're at least a half a turn in idle speed. Having said that, that means that all of the air that gets into the engine idling, unless we have false air, which is a vacuum leak, all of the air has to go around the throttle plate and to that little small crack in the doorway of the throttle that you've given a half turn to. In that same area of the throttle plate is a hole that's about 1/16 of an inch, and that's called an idle supply fuel chamber. That's how fuel is drawn. Actually, it's not drawn, but for lack of a better word, that's how it works. So that's what you want to do, is you want to check the idle system on it, okay?
Well, real quick on that. Do I have to take the carburetor off to do that?
No, you can do that idling, but you have to synchronize. And Jonathan?
Because I have an idle mixture screw, and I set it according to the book at 2 revolutions. And I tweaked it, an 8 here, an 8 there, one way or the other, and it doesn't seem to change no matter what I have the idle screw mixture screw at.
Well, see, therein, that's why I wanted to explain to you how it works, because the idle fuel hole could be stopped up, and so what you need to do is go through the carburetor and make sure that, using your smoke test, but go ahead and overhaul the carburetor, take it apart, clean all the passageways out, seat the idle screws all the way in, back them out at 1.5 turns as a good 2 turns as a good starting point, and then synchronize your throttle plate and start there. Call me next week.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you very much.
You're welcome very much. Folks, that's all the time we have for today's broadcast. And thank you for tuning in every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time. And a special thanks to our Bobby Likis Car Clinic team. Diane Summer, Executive Vice President, Car Clinic Network. Jeff Firestone, Executive Producer. Our own in-house studio producer, Fabio Aruz, or in Spanish, that's adios, adios, adios. Is that right, Fabio?
That's it, adios.
Fabio Adios. I've just learned Spanish. And Jonathan Sloan, our media director, my personal assistant, and just all-around take care of business kind of a guy. Hannah Geis, our terrific call screener. And finally, in New York, Westwood One Satellite Studios, Angel Bordone, longtime technical director for our satellite services. And remember, folks, every Saturday from 10 till noon Eastern Time, tune in to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you can't find us on an AM and or FM station, go to Watch Bobby Live. That's watchbobbylive.com, and tune us in on our global cast. I'm your host, Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us. Until next week, have a great day and take care of your car.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
A dead battery can leave you stranded, so get yours tested for free during Superstart Battery Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Need a replacement? Purchase a Superstart Extreme or Superstart Platinum battery and get up to $25 in O'Reilly gift cards after a mail-in rebate. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Motorrad, a longtime OE supplier, is the leader in automotive thermostats and fuel and oil coolant caps. Motorrad's state-of-the-art quality control and functional testing systems ensure high-quality, long-lasting products. Motorrad delivers world-class product development, providing all the parts and accessories needed to do the job right the first time, every time. Motorrad offers the best coverage of thermostats, enclosure caps,